All right, starting this YouTube video for the 12-hour stream, or from the 12-hour stream. We got another reaction. So, how METH or H2K reacts. I almost pulled this out. How METH is killing Europe. What the? How METH is killing Europe. I guess the H just. All right, fuck me then. I guess. Shout out Fern. We literally watch Fern on like all the long streams while I eat for a break. But yeah, shout out Fern. Fern. How METH is killing Europe, and then after, I'm not gonna lie, we're probably gonna watch how cocaine is killing Europe. Maybe I'll play a game in between, but I kind of want to watch that now too.
When I took the most I ever had, I was awake for a whole week.
I gave myself an injection, and as soon as I pulled the syringe, my body was already thrilled.
Sorry.
I didn't know meth was like prevalent in Europe. I know it's huge in the Midwest.
Yeah, everything's fine. Everything's all right.
I was 14 when meth came into the picture.
I just know that she started at 13, so really, really early.
Damn, 13?
Crystal meth is one of the world's most dangerous drugs.
I'm not gonna lie,
it's cheap to produce, extremely addictive, and has serious health consequences. Few other drugs have such a reputation for ruining lives. Historically, meth use in Europe has been relatively low compared to the US and Asia.
Yeah, that's what I thought, man.
European
Like,
meth used to be concentrated in Czechia, where usage is still highest in Europe. But in recent years, consumption across Europe has risen. Some areas, such as Eastern Germany, are particularly affected. 5 of Europe's 15 highest meth use cities are located there.
Yo, what's crazy is in World War II, that's how the Nazis, like, that's one of the reasons the Nazi Blitzkrieg was so successful. It's because all the fucking soldiers on the front line, and yeah, I mean, they gave all their soldiers meth, but then, like, the ones in the tanks at the front line, they just dosed your ass up with meth. He was tweaking out there. And now it's popular there
im Osten
again.
von Deutschland einfach so die meistverbreitetste, härteste Droge.
How did this happen? Why here in particular? And who is profiting from all of this? We traveled to Eastern Germany and spoke with experts and former users. These conversations were originally conducted in German. For this video, we have provided dubbing and subtitles.
Thank you.
At the same time, we try to understand where this drug comes from, what other areas of Europe are experiencing an increase, and what insidious global structures are behind the crystal meth trade. It's a cold New Year's Eve in a town in Saxony. Dominic comes from a stable family. At this point, he's 14 years old. He's out celebrating with friends. They decide to buy weed from an acquaintance for 80 euros, but the dealer doesn't have any left. Instead, he offers them a choice. They can keep their 80 euros or use it to try something else. Crystal meth.
We tried the crystal without thinking about it. I thought it was funny and just took it for fun.
It won't be the last time.
We did it again the next weekend, and then regularly, every other weekend, and then daily. We started out snorting it, but it really burns your nose, and at first that was still manageable,
Yeah, no
but
shit.
after a while it got so painful that we had to find other ways to get our fix, so we smoked it, we drank it, parachuted it.
Parachuting a drug involves
Fucking
wrapping it in
drink
thin
it?
paper and swallowing it.
I mean, yeah, parachuting.
Over time, the drug's effects get weaker and weaker. Dominic is developing a tolerance.
After a while, the effect wasn't the same. My body was too used to it. The only thing left was injecting it to get the most out of the drug. It's almost the way to get the most bang for your buck.
Intravenous use involves dissolving the meth in water and injecting it with a needle straight into the veins. At this point, Dominic is 15 years old.
I gave myself an injection, and as soon as I pulled up the syringe, my body was already thrilled. As soon as I felt it course through my veins, my mind went. You know, you jump up, you're wide awake, you're immediately on the go, you're outgoing, you're chatty. This feeling was just, you just feel great and active and like you could move mountains.
Dominic tells us this first injection was the best high of his life.
Thanks to the drug, I didn't feel alone. And with these people, I never felt excluded. I was never alone.
It's 1938. The pharmaceutical company Temmler introduces the drug Pervitin to the German market, available without a prescription. It contains a novel substance, methamphetamine, the active ingredient of crystal meth. Pervitin is marketed as a stimulant, a wake-up pill. It quickly becomes a bestseller in Germany.
Was möchten Sie in den Kaffee? Milchzucker?
Nur 2 Pervitin, das wird heute ein anstrengender Tag.
A candy company even launches chocolates that contain Pervitin. They're said to help with so-called housewife depression. 3 to 9 chocolates a day are said to do the trick. 9 chocolates contain about the same amount of methamphetamine as is needed for an average meth high. It's not long until the Nazis start using Pervitin. By the 1939 invasion of Poland, they'd already used it millions of times. It's a miracle drug for the Blitzkrieg. Fear, hunger, fatigue all fade away on meth. Soldiers are more aggressive in combat. But soon, the drug's side effects become impossible to ignore.
Auf Pervitin gingen deutsche Soldaten über ihre Grenzen, bis sie einfach zusammenbrachen. Die Wirkung reichte nicht mehr aus und sie erfroren im Schlaf.
Sie verloren ihren Instinkt für Gefahr, vor allem auch durch Unterkühlung.
In 1941, Pervitin becomes prescription only. Still, it remains widely accessible. After the Second World War, doctors in both East and West Germany continued to prescribe it as a stimulant and pick-me-up. Athletes use it for performance enhancement. In the 1970s, the UN classifies methamphetamine as a Schedule II drug, which outlaws its unauthorized production and sale. Its usage declines throughout Europe. In Germany, Pervitin remains on the market until 1988, when medical use of meth becomes illegal. Nowadays, the street name for illegally cooked meth is often still Pervitin. Soon, a black market emerges. Small meth labs start producing crystal meth themselves, mostly in the US and Eastern Europe. And by the 1990s, illegally cooked meth finds its way from Eastern Europe to the rest of the continent. Every addiction has an origin story. Ashley's starts at age 20.
I was having some financial difficulties at the time, and I have a daughter. I had her father take care of her until I could sort out my money problems, but I haven't gotten her back since. That was a
Real shit though. If a dad did that shit, he gets so much flack. Here, take the kid. I can't help at all.
turning point for me when I said to myself, I need to get on a different track.
Ashley also wishes to remain anonymous, so we've changed her name. She first comes into contact with meth through her sister.
My sister's been using it basically her whole life, and at one point she took me along with her. She started at about 13, so really, really early. At first, it wasn't that much. I'd say I did a line every couple of days, maybe every other day.
And it works. Well, sort of. Meth distracts her, takes her mind off things.
For one thing, it keeps you wide awake. One time I was taking it and I didn't sleep for a whole week.
Damn.
And it still made me feel even more energetic. It was mostly that I just didn't feel anything anymore.
My question is, if you're high for a week, high as fuck, can't sleep, you can at least be productive. Like, I understand once you're already like hooked and shit and it don't give you that same feeling no more. But like, man, when you're new and you can't sleep for a fucking week and you're just tweaked up, you gotta go get yourself a hustle or something.
I didn't care about anything, and after a point, it was really often. I was definitely using at least a gram a day. By then, I honestly didn't care anymore.
Meth begins to take up more and more space in Dominic's life.
Everyone only cared about the drug. That's how it went. You're focused, you're inventive. It's insane. Staying up night after night, doing this and that, and it just keeps going on and on and on. I spent everything I had on it, poured all my money into using, sometimes several hundred euros in a day.
In my case, I had a good relationship with my dealer. I only paid 25 euros a gram, which just made me use even more.
As Dominic's meth use increases, he needs new ways to get his fix.
At first, I just bought it from a dealer or somebody went to get it for me. By the time I was 16, that didn't work anymore. I was using way more than I could afford. Started driving to the Czech Republic to pick up there.
The exact production cost of a gram of meth is hard to pin down. But in Czechia, the hub of Europe's meth production, you can get it for as little as 10 to 20 euros. Czech authorities report that around 6.5 tons of crystal meth are produced in the country each year. In 2022 alone, police shut down more than 200 illegal meth labs. The country does not only lead in production, it also has some of the highest consumption rates in Europe. It requires both the right equipment and expertise in chemistry. In Czechia, a country with a strong pharmaceutical industry, you can easily find both. Every meth cook also needs ephedrine, the base ingredient used to make methamphetamine. In Czechia, ephedrine is tightly regulated because of the meth trade. But just across the border in Poland, ephedrine-based medications such as cold medicine can be bought in bulk over the counter. That's where many Czech meth cooks source their supply. Meth cooked in Czechia easily makes its way into Germany. Smuggling it across the border is a lucrative business, whether through big dealers or in countless small shipments.
Hier in Sachsen und in Ostbayern wird sehr viel über sogenannten Ameisenhandel importiert. Ameisenhandel heißt, dass sehr, sehr viele einzelne Personen in kleinen Mengen diese Droge über die Grenze bringen und die Polizei kaum eine Chance hat oder der Zoll, dem habhaft zu werden.
There I was taken along by older guys. We called them old junkies who were basically just there to do the driving. And of course, there's the Czech dealers. You just go to any pickup spot and they'll be there. But I also drove right into the country and picked it up directly from the lab. We swallowed it, packed it into little parachutes, and smuggled it over the border in our bodies.
According to Czech police, in 2014, about 1/3 of Czech meth ended up in Germany. Recent analyses show that methamphetamine residues in the wastewater of East German cities are especially high. We asked Ashley and Dominic, how long does it take to get meth where they live?
I'd say maybe half an hour. I wouldn't say longer than that.
I'd say it doesn't even take 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
In Zwickau, Dresden, Leipzig, the scene is well established there. You can just tell. You know exactly where to go.
According to Saxon government officials, meth use in the state isn't increasing, but it's plateaued at a very high level. To understand how underground markets work, many moving parts have to come together. The bigger story emerges through collaboration among research institutions, governments, journalists, and above all, the voices of those directly affected. We're grateful to the brave individuals who have shared their stories with us and for the sponsors who make our investigations possible. This video is brought to you from I-Level on Network. It's 2014. By now, Dominic is a legal adult. He's been using meth regularly for several years. No job, no university. He's no longer following conventional life paths. He's firmly in the grip of addiction. And it costs him several thousand euros per month. That level of consumption needs to be financed somehow.
Damn, bro.
In my circle, for sure. Through petty crime, individual offenses, group efforts, I got myself into a lot of trouble with the law.
The more meth he uses, the more crimes he commits.
I started out shoplifting, and let's just say I ended up in much bigger trouble. It just got worse and worse.
So bad, he wound up in prison.
Muss ich immer so um die Ecke gucken. Durch die Blume.
This is Dr. Stefan Mühlig. He's a professor of clinical psychology, an addiction researcher, and works with meth users.
Ja, wie sich das anfühlt, das kann ich Ihnen jetzt nur beschreiben aus den Berichten meiner Patienten.
Nah,
He
you
explains
done
to us
tried it
why
before, big dog.
methamphetamine is so addictive.
Es ist so, dass vor allem bei dem allerersten Konsum hier ein erheblicher sogenannter Kick entsteht, also ein explosionsartiger Rauschzustand.
Methamphetamine floods the brain with dopamine, the chemical that regulates lust, motivation, and your brain's reward system. It's often nicknamed the feel-good hormone.
Right, so how can you be motivated and devotion and all that shit and you can't go work a job while high? I get it once you get like later on where like you're like dependent on it, you're just gonna be tweaked out at work. But like for these motherfuckers who are new, you couldn't go bust a double on that shit multiple days a week or something? I don't know. I feel like that'd be a cheat code.
Average, an orgasm triggers an 80% increase in dopamine release.
Im Vergleich dazu steigt die Dopaminausschüttung bei einem Kokainkonsum, wenn man ihn nasal betreibt, zum Beispiel um 200 bis 400%. Bei Crystal Meth aber um 1400%.
In other words, a single hit of meth can release 17 times more of the pleasure hormone than an orgasm.
Da kann man sich ungefähr die Dimension vorstellen, wie stark dieser Kick ist und wie unvergesslich ein solcher Zustand ist. Schon beim allerersten Konsum, dann sehnt die Person sich dann immer wieder nach diesem ursprünglichen Zustand zurück oder nach diesem sehr starken positiven Rauschzustand.
The first time someone tries meth is enough to lay the foundation for addiction. How quickly that risk turns into full-blown addiction depends on how the drug is consumed. In simple terms, the faster meth reaches the brain, the higher the risk of addiction. Swallowing it takes about 20 minutes for the effects to kick in. Smoking it takes only 5 to 7 seconds. The same goes for injection. Once the high wears off, what follows is a brutal crash.
Der Entzugszustand ist sozusagen das Spiegelbildliche dessen, was man im Rauschzustand erlebt. Also man ist langsam, schlapp, ausgepumpt, energielos, down, depressiv.
Dominic and Ashley each find their own way to endure withdrawal symptoms.
I slept for a week, only waking up a few times to drink something. What I remember is constantly breaking into sweats and having heart and circulation problems from not hydrating enough.
I can only say from my own experience that you just get very tired or you sleep a lot. During that time, I was also severely underweight. Sometimes I didn't eat at all, only when I'd come down a bit.
Damn, man.
Die körperliche Abhängigkeit, die ebenfalls entstehen kann, ist dann, dass der Körper sich an diese externe Zufuhr von der Droge gewöhnt und ohne gar nicht mehr funktionieren kann.
Withdrawal can feel so miserable that it seems only one thing can help: getting high again. A vicious cycle. Regular long-term use of methamphetamine can lead to serious health problems, including depression, heart attacks, and epilepsy.
Bei Crystal ist es eher so, dass es zu kognitiven Beeinträchtigungen auf Dauer kommt, also Konzentrations- und Aufmerksamkeitsproblemen, Gedächtnisproblemen. Vor allem die Aufmerksamkeitsspanne ist stark eingeschränkt im Dauergebrauch, also nach Dauergebrauch.
The body deteriorates, poor skin, severe weight loss, bad teeth. Over time, meth damages organs and causes brain damage.
Das ist auch noch ganz, ganz wichtig zu wissen. Diese Stimulantien, Methamphetamin, aber auch Amphetamin und Kokain können auf Dauer psychotisch machen. Und die Psychosen sind sozusagen die schlimmsten psychischen Störungen. Das sind die, die mit Wahn, Halluzinationen zu tun haben.
Here's a map of all the meth labs that were shut down in Europe between 2018 and 2020. It's clear here that Czechia is a major stronghold in Europe. In Germany, Bavaria and the East are most affected. But further west, you can see that the Netherlands, Belgium, Norway, and Sweden are also established meth hotspots.
They could also
Large
smuggle
amounts
it
of crystal
easier.
meth in the EU now come from the Netherlands or Mexico. It's believed that Mexican drug cartels drive a lot of this traffic, using their expertise to cook meth in Dutch and Belgian labs, while precursor chemicals are smuggled into Europe from China. By now, the drug is firmly entrenched throughout Europe, and it shows no signs of disappearing anytime soon. Traffickers exploit international trade routes, airplanes, cargo ships, trucks. If one route gets shut down, another opens up. Occasionally, authorities report successes against drug traffickers, but the larger battle is widely considered unwinnable. Between 2010 and 2020, the quantity of confiscated methamphetamine increased nearly sixfold in the EU. One researcher in the European Union Drugs Agency warns that currently there are indications of increased methamphetamine use all throughout Europe. Wastewater analysis confirms an increase of consumption in many European countries.
So they're testing people's piss and shit to see what drugs they're on. Man, y'all can have the meth at that point. Fuck out of here.
Fast forward to 2023. Ashley's been using crystal meth for 2 years now. She's been homeless at times and has given up custody of her daughter. She's lost contact with family and former friends. Today, she's using meth again. But this time, something's different. She feels unwell and realizes she can't properly talk.
After using, I wasn't in control of myself.
Got that fancy.
I struggled to speak. I knew what I wanted to say, but I couldn't get the words out. Instead, I just sat there, staring into nothing.
She calls an ambulance. Shortly after, she's admitted into a psychiatric hospital.
That, in and of itself, was a reason to quit. But then I found out I was pregnant, and that was the real reason.
Oh my God.
Ja, alles gut. Wenn du eine Pause brauchst, ist auch gar kein Problem.
Sorry.
Nein, alles gut. Gar kein Stress. Wir machen mal eine kurze Pause, oder? Das ist vielleicht besser. Dann kannst du kurz was trinken.
Poor fucking baby, dude.
People struggling with addiction have various ways to find support. Often the first points of contact are community outreach volunteers or social workers. They help users with everyday struggles like finding a place to live. But just as importantly, they support young people in taking the difficult steps out of addiction. By 2021, Dominic reached a breaking point.
I noticed suicidal behavior in myself, deliberately giving myself overdoses. Other problems added to it as well. Physically, I could feel it. Either I kept going with the drugs and I would probably die soon, or I changed something, and I wanted to change.
He decides to start addiction therapy. Beating a crystal meth addiction usually means facing a long and difficult journey.
Die Idee, ja, hör doch einfach auf, greift da schlicht zu kurz und wird dem Problem nicht gerecht. Die betroffenen Personen würden ja gerne aufhören. Manche würden ihren rechten Arm dafür hergeben, von der Droge loszukommen, aber sie schaffen es nicht, weil die Sucht eben eine ungeheure Macht über sie hat.
The first step is withdrawal. It takes about 4 to 6 weeks for the body to overcome a physical dependence. Afterwards, therapy can begin. We travel to a rehab center close to the Czech border to understand how it all works. This is Uwe Wicher. He runs the clinic.
Wir sind eine Fachklinik zur Rehabilitation von Abhängigkeitserkrankungen und haben uns auf Menschen spezialisiert, die von illegalen Drogen oder Cannabis abhängig sind. Wenn jemand zu uns kommt und Therapie macht, ist die Regelbehandlungsdauer 6 Monate. Wer im Haus konsumiert oder Drogen ins Haus bringt, für den ist die Therapie von unserer Seite aus beendet.
Addiction therapy in Wicher's clinic takes place in 3 successive phases: an orientation phase, an intensive phase, and a reintegration phase. After physical detox, the therapy focuses on building awareness of the patterns that led someone to use the drug. Patients work on strategies to cope with difficult emotions and triggers. At the same time, they are prepared for life after rehab. It's not only about getting clean, but also about staying clean. For starters, this means leaving your old life behind.
Um dort wirklich von der Droge wegzukommen, musst du dieses Umfeld verlassen. So, und die Frage, die man sich auch stellen muss, sind denn das wirklich Freunde, die man dort hat? Oder besteht die Freundschaft? Oder ist die überhaupt erst dadurch entstanden, dass man gemeinsam konsumiert, vielleicht auch gemeinsam kriminelle Machenschaften an den Tag legt?
It's also about developing a whole new perspective on life.
Solche Perspektiven, die Sinn geben, denn Sinn ist wichtig, um auch abstinent sein zu wollen.
And patients have to prepare for difficult phases ahead.
Also in jeder Lebenslage, wo es ihm nicht gut geht oder man sich auch langweilt, kommt ganz automatisch dieses Bedürfnis, jetzt möchte ich eigentlich wieder drauf sein. Diese Erinnerung ist dann im Suchtgedächtnis verspeichert.
Addiction memory can be treacherous. The danger of relapse lurks everywhere, even in places where you would least expect it. It's 2014. Dominic's been in prison for over a year and a half. You might think he's long gone through detox. Think again.
In fact, there are
they
both
get that shit
officers
in there.
and inmates who smuggle it in, either through visits or through the officers themselves, depending on what the officer earns from it. In my prison, it was basically the norm. You could almost say that there were more drugs inside the prison than outside.
In prisons across Europe, it's clear inmates are routinely getting high. Drugs are regularly found and seized by authorities and show up in urine tests. Supplying a closed-off prison population with drugs may present dealers with added logistical challenges, but the demand is high. Drugs sold in prisons sometimes fetch 4 times the profits than those sold on the outside.
They're making a
Beyond
killing.
visitors and prison officers, Dominic also tells us about others you might not normally associate with crystal meth.
Another common way to get drugs is through the prison's priest. He brings in a lot of substances.
We were also not able to independently verify these claims. We reached out to Saxony's justice authorities but received no response. Dominic also tells us that even outside prison, some police officers will turn a blind eye to crystal meth.
I never once got reported for meth possession. They never filed charges. When I'd be sitting with my dealers, sometimes cops would come in to pick up their own stuff. And
Yeah,
we'd
what
know
the
about
fuck?
raids ahead of time. We'd get the heads up a day or so before a raid. So we had time to stash stuff away.
We were also not able to independently verify these claims. Prison guards, priests, even police officers. Dominic's accounts, if true, show just how deeply methamphetamine has penetrated all layers of society. Methamphetamine has a certain reputation.
Da klebt so ein anderes Etikett dran. Ne? Da klebt eben dran, das ist die ostdeutsche Unterschichtsdroge.
But the more experts we spoke with, the more complexity we found. Meth is used not only by marginalized communities impacted by poverty, but Europeans from all walks of life.
Also wenn wir uns unsere Klienten und Patienten angucken, dann kommen die aus ganz unterschiedlichen gesellschaftlichen Gruppen und Verhältnissen.
According to Dr. Mühlig, some use meth for neuroenhancement. They find that meth can boost performance at university or on the job.
Wir haben hier auch durchaus Patienten aus höheren
you
Statusgruppen
can stay
wie
up for a fucking
Managern,
week and just
Bankern,
study.
Investmentbankern, die
Get all your
ihre
homework
Quoten
done in like a
erfüllen
night.
müssen. Auch Wissenschaftler manchmal dabei, also wirklich auch Abgeordnete.
Ja, der Bauer wird oft genannt.
They have to do a lot of repetitive tasks, like sitting for hours on a tractor plowing the fields.
Da kann Crystal Meth natürlich helfen, Müdigkeit zu überwinden.
Da gehören Schichtarbeiter, Lkw-Fahrer sicherlich auch dazu.
Man möchte gar nicht dran denken, dass da welche auf Crystal Meth unterwegs sind.
Then there's the classic party context where meth is used like ecstasy or cocaine. There's also a pretty sealed-off scene called chemsex. These are groups where people meet in closed circles for sex parties.
Das ist eine
Bro, they're
Droge,
just
die
having
mehr
messed
als
up
andere
orgies.
Drogen
Dog,
das
what the fuck?
Lustempfinden steigert, also sehr stark sexualisiert, die
just
Hemmschwelle
having
senkt,
messed up
das Lustempfinden
orgies.
steigert.
The strongly sexualizing effect of meth comes with a whole host of other problems, particularly for female users.
Was in Sachsen uns sehr große Kopfschmerzen bereitet hat, nämlich dass auch überproportional viele ungewollte Schwangerschaften dann entstehen.
It's not uncommon for female meth users to keep using while pregnant. This can lead to prenatal damage and neonatal impairments. The fetus can be severely harmed and born with limitations or sometimes serious disabilities. Of the 35,000 children born in Saxony in 2015, 160 to 180 were diagnosed with damage caused by the drug. And these are just the reported cases. The undiagnosed number may be even higher.
Und das ist natürlich nochmal ein ganz schlimmer Folgeeffekt sozusagen der Verbreitung von Crystal.
Attention shoppers. If you receive SNAP food
God
assistance
damn you.
benefits, is your information up to date?
When Ashley finds out she's pregnant, it's a huge wake-up call. It changes everything.
For me, that was really the turning point. When I found out I was pregnant, I didn't want to keep going. I knew I would be harming my child, and that was the moment I said, it's now or never.
Ja, voll gut. Also, da kannst du auch richtig stolz.
Yeah, I am. My boyfriend supported me. He said I could go to therapy, and I would have done it, but ultimately I overcame my addiction without. The pregnancy gave me so much strength. I could handle all of it and take care of my daughter. That was easy for me in the end.
Ashley managed to quit meth without addiction therapy. She gave birth to a healthy baby, who she tells us is developing well.
Damn.
Both Dominic
got
and
lucky.
Ashley have left meth behind and are leading lives free from the drug.
Und wenn man mit den Patienten redet, ja, dann sagen fast alle, hätte ich es bloß gelassen. Also niemand steht dazu oder würde im Rückblick sagen, ich finde es gut, diesen Preis zu zahlen, das war angemessen, sondern der Preis ist viel zu hoch für das bisschen Vergnügen, was man für eine relativ kurze Zeitspanne eigentlich hatte nur.
Keine Ahnung, würdest du jetzt, wo du das alles durchgemacht hast, würdest du nochmal anfangen mit Quiz?
Never again. Never, ever again.
Their stories show that the journey to recovery is absolutely worthwhile.
I believe anyone can quit. But of course, you have to find the will to do it within yourself.
Yeah, facts.
Also das Fazit ist, dass man vielleicht
You can't make nobody quit, man.
beharrlich sein muss,
They
dass
gotta
man
do it
mehrere Anläufe
themselves.
braucht, öfter, dass aber am Ende das jeder schaffen kann, auch wieder loszukommen. Mit professioneller Hilfe, mit Eigenmotivation. Aber irgendwann ist der Tag gekommen, wo man auch wieder ohne die Droge leben kann.
Anyone struggling with methamphetamine addiction can seek support from friends and family, from community outreach workers, or through local addiction counseling services. Links to online resources can be found in the description.
Man,
When I look
W
back to the
fucking
time I
video,
was
man.
using, my world was so gray. Since I stopped using, my world is full of color again. I enjoy life again. I can enjoy the small things, like when an old lady smiles at me. You can appreciate these things way more if you don't use.
Facts. Man, that was a good fucking video, Fern. W Fern. That was actually so good. We're about to watch the cocaine one, but this is where the YouTube video is gonna end. I'm gonna break them up into 2 different videos so I can have separate uploads for different days. So, yeah, that's it. W Fern. Shout out Fern.